So Rick Moranis, who hasn't really done a whole lot in Hollywood. I think he's been pretty much retired for the most part. I know he kind of did some things, but he's got another upcoming thing for the Honey I Shrunk the Kids kind of thing. But other than that, he's been kind of laying low. Last we heard about him was I thought it was last year because I swore it was the last year I made a video about it, but it's actually 2020 when he was in New York City. He got punched in the head by someone doing the knockout challenge. And that was pretty much the last most people have heard. But apparently he is semi coming out of retirement to star as Dark Helmet, which I'm sure he has near and dear to him. Rick Moranis returning for Spaceballs 2, which sequel hyped by Mel Brooks, but is still being written by Josh Gad. You know, Olaf from Frozen. I would trust Count Olaf a lot more than I would trust Josh Gad. Hello, hello, hello. Doesn't matter what Count Olaf, the one Jim Carrey Olaf or Neil Patrick Harris Olaf. It doesn't matter. I would still trust them over Josh Gad. Now, Mel Brooks is one of those people who have a distinct style. Between you see Spaceballs, Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, Curb Your Enthusiasm, all these great titles. Obviously, Curb Your Enthusiasm is not a movie, but you know things that he's worked on and created and this and that. You see, has a very very specific brand of humor. Some of it's offensive, which he wears proudly, and he even admits that like if something like Blazing Saddles was to be remade today, it wouldn't work. When you have lines like dancing around like a bunch of Kansas City F word, not fucks. The other one that's somehow discriminatory and derogative now. You know, rhymes with maggots. So lines like that, or a certain implication of things, but that's just Mel Brooks's humor. That's his style. And Josh Gad, I don't think Josh Gad has the balls to do what Mel Brooks does. And therefore, I think the sequel is going to be like toned down. It's almost going to be more family friendly, I guess, because again, this is the kind of guy who's like, oh, I find that incredibly offensive. But Spaceballs is coming back with Rick Moranis and Josh Gad. Field of Stars at swell. The field of stars, a swell of grand orchestral fanfare, the inclined text receding into the stellar void as we read the history of Star Wars Legacy announcing a long-awaited project. Spaceballs 2, The Schwartz Awakens. One day after Deadline reported Amazon MGM Studios is heavily invested in theatrical, and they're not holding any content back from their 2026 slate of movies, Mel Brooks announced the 2027 release of the long-rumored sequel to his 1987 sci-fi comedy Spaceballs. Again, Mel Brooks, this man is like 98, 99 years old. This dude looks like he's 70-something, which is crazy. Looking, 25 so years younger, 20, 30 years younger than what you actually are. I don't think it's a health thing. I think this is just a Mel Brooks thing. We should all hope and strive to be Mel Brooks. No, but this man has accomplished so much in his life, and it's going to be a great loss when I have to make that video. That video, which I am dreading to think of. But the man's a genius. He understands that things are, certain humor is just that humor, and he never uses it to go after anyone. It's just stuff that he finds funny. Like I said, look at Blazing Saddles. Look at not Bride of Frankenstein, Young Frankenstein. You see that he's not intentionally trying to hurt people's feelings. He's just doing what he thinks is funny. But Josh Gad is one of those people like, oh my god, that was offensive. Typical Mel Brooks style, the trailer mocks the state of modern movies with the prequels with the sequels, prequels, prequels to sequels, and prequels to the sequels, prequels, and such. The teaser concludes with a 99-year-old Mel Brooks wearing a Spaceballs sweatshirt, walking to the camera. Brooks will appear again as a sage yogurt, who once guided the film's heroes into a greater understanding of the Schwartz and where the real money of a movie is made, merchandising.
After 40 years, we asked, what do the fans want? But instead, we're making this movie. May the Schwartz be with you.
That's what I mean. It's just his humor. You know, he has a dark humor. He has very twisted humor. And that's what makes him great. He's not afraid of saying things that offend people. Yeah, again, look at Blazing Saddles. People are like, oh yeah, if that movie was to be, even he said, if that movie was to be remade today, it would never work out. That's why he's not allowing it to be remade, because he could never do what he did then. He could never do it now. If he was to simply just take Blazing Saddles and translate it word for word, scene for scene, but obviously different actors, not modernize it, it would never work. People would be leaving, they'd be on Twitter like, oh my god, can you believe what they said? Oh, this is very offensive. It's definitely a product of its time. It would never work. It would never work. So he's like one of those minds where he's got so much going on up there, and even he acknowledges that a lot of it wouldn't be allowed today. And Josh Gad is one of those people I just, you know, I have a feeling it's going to be like more like family friendly. And I mean, again, it kind of, compared to Mel Brooks' other stuff, it is more family friendly than, say, Young Frankenstein or Blazing Saddles. But Spaceballs 2 has been rumored for a long time, with Moranis saying in 2013 that it might be called Spaceballs 3, The Search for Spaceballs 2. But when that fell through, Brooks said he would like to release a sequel called Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. That would be released after the next Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, at the time. That didn't happen. That too didn't happen. Clearly, sequels and spin-offs have been on Mel Brooks' mind, not just his own. The teaser text scroll ends by saying, in 38 years, there has only ever been one Spaceballs until now. This is, actually, this is factually an error, since there was a 15-episode animated series, Spaceballs, the animated series, which aired in 2008 on G4. Actually... No, while Mel Brooks was heavily touted in this reveal, it's important to remember that he's not writing the second entry. Absent from all recent hype has been Josh Gad, Frozen, Olaf, who has been confirmed to be writing and starring in the upcoming Spaceballs sequel. Brooks will simply produce and while reprising the role of Yogurt. Casting news soon followed, confirming that Bill Pullman will return to play Lone Star, which is amazing. The Space Winnebago driving Schwartzwielder, Kiki Palmer, nope, has been cast, though no character details for her have been released. While stories had to quickly be updated to include the late dropping news that Lewis Pullman will be joining his father, playing an undisclosed role, which is really, really cool. It's always nice to see father and son playing roles, opposite each other. The big news to many fans is that Rick Moranis will be returning to play Dark Helmet. From the late 70s and throughout the 80s, Rick Moranis became a staple of comedy. But when he lost his wife, Ann Belsky, to cancer in 1991, he began to pull back from public life to focus on raising his children. I mean, at the time, the guy had money. He was everywhere. Nowadays, I mean, I don't know the kind of lifestyle that the guy's living. I would assume it's a modest lifestyle, very reserved. He's probably not spending, oh, hey, I'm going to go out and spend money on a car now. No, he's probably very reserved with it. But money does dry up. So like I said, he's doing this. I think it actually mentions it here somewhere. I don't know. Doesn't say anything. Yeah, shrunk. So it's possible that, maybe finances are, thin right now, and he's trying to get some financial stability again. But either way, it's not like he's just going to come into this role and just almost like half-ass it. No, it's Rick Moranis. So you're going to, when you're expecting Dark Helmet, you're going to get Dark Helmet. So that's one thing with Rick Moranis. He's a genuine dude. He's never really been about the money. So if he was, he wouldn't have been pulling away from Hollywood so early as like 1991. So this dude is a genuine dude. He's a cool guy. People who have met him is like, yeah, he's very humble. He's this, he's that. So he obviously has his reasons for coming back to Hollywood, even temporarily. Throughout the 90s, he made a smattering of family movies, and after 2000, he did a little voiceover work. The last fans may have heard of him was in late 2020 when he was a victim of a random violence in the infamous Knockout game fad. Strangely, the attack happened only minutes from his apartment building where his character, Louis Tully, lived in the 1984 hit Ghostbusters. John Candy. I mean, I hope they reference John Candy, reference Barf in some kind of way in the movie. That'd be great, because, I mean, obviously he was beloved by a lot of people and stole a lot of the, what's the word I'm looking for here? He didn't steal, well, I mean, basically it was John Candy. So if he was on screen, he stole the show, because it's fucking John Candy. Just think of, like, something as simple as, like, Home Alone. The scene where they're in the airport and he comes and, like, interrupts saying, oh, I heard you needed to, get back to your kid. Like, that he stole that. When him and Kevin's mom are they're in the truck, he tells the story about how he accidentally left his kid in a funeral parlor. And if I remember, John Candy completely made that up. It was just who he was. So I would hope to see some kind of memorial type thing or reference or something to Barf in the, just kind of honoring John Candy. That would be great. John Candy appeared in the original Spaceballs as Barf, the Mog, half man, half dog, his own best friend. If his character is to be recast, there's no word yet on whom it may be. I don't think it should be recast. Since it's a sequel, enough time has passed to where Barf might have possibly just died of old age. Considering he's half man, half dog, I would assume that his lifespan is kind of in between. A dog's lifespan is sped up a lot more. So I would say he, that is kind of hard to determine because half man, half dog. So that's like what? Every 7 years, every year of human life is like 7 years for a dog. So yeah, one would just assume that maybe Barf just died. That's what I'm saying, like some kind of memorial, because John Candy died, and I would assume that enough time has passed in the Spaceballs universe where Barf might have just died too, being half man, half dog. Dog having reduced lifespan, usually living up only 20 years. Um, so, and just another reason for a little like memorial type thing. Um, Deadline reports that Spaceballs 2, The Schwartz Awakens, has been described as a non-prequel, non-reboot sequel, part 2, but with reboot elements franchise expansion film by people who have not yet seen the script. Josh Greenbaum is directing based off a screenplay from Josh Gad, and the writing team Benji Samit and Dan Hernandez, Detective Pikachu, which was actually really good. I went in thinking it was going to be pretty dumb, because or bad based. It was just, oh boy, video game based movie, live action movie. It was actually a really good movie. It took a while to accept that Ryan Reynolds' mouth, his voice was coming out of Pikachu's mouth, but then you watch it and you're like, you know what? It actually kind of works. It kind of works. And then Ryan Reynolds kind of finally showing up at the end as himself, or rather Tim's dad. It's like, there we go. You're like, where are we gonna see it? I don't know, but there's Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, and then TMNT Mutant Mayhem. That's the one with isn't that the one that um, what's his face did? Seth Rogen, Mr. I Live, Breathe, and Anything Weed. The one with that just indescribably bad looking April. Like, you've had Aprils, like black Aprils before, but this one, it's just like, oh hey, how do we make her look as modern as possible? It was so bad. Everyone was like, why does April look like this? Even when they've had a black April before, she was still, yeah. Like, Seth Rogen, why did you decide to do this? What are you trying to say here? Previously, Josh Gad worked with Mel Brooks on the divisive History of the World, Part 2, where he played Shakespeare. He's also announced to star with Rick Moranis in the upcoming Shrunk, a new entry in the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids series that will be directed by Joe Johnston, which, how many of them are there? I know there's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, hang on. I want to get it right. All right, so we've got Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, 1989. Honey, I Blew Up the Kids, 1992. Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, 1997. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, respectively. And all of them had, Rick Moranis. I remember seeing that one in movies, in the theaters. Um, but yeah, that's a lot of, not a lot, but but yeah, Josh Gad. Nope, I'm done. Again, I don't think Josh Gad has the capability, or I dare say the space balls to push push things the way that Mel Brooks did. Because even looking back at Spaceballs, you can clearly tell Mel Brooks' humor is there. And again, I just don't think Josh Gad has the Spaceballs to do it. He's one of those Hollywood elitists who just, oh, this joke's offensive. Oh, this is stereotyping of certain groups of people. So there's no way in hell he could ever, rise to the occasion of writing a movie the way that Mel Brooks would. So it's great to see Rick Moranis coming out and returning as Dark Helmet, but come on, it's Josh Gad writing it. I would trust Rick Moranis to write it more because at least he understands the spirit of it. But Josh Gad, that's like saying, hey, Josh Gad is gonna write a a remake or whatever to Blazing Saddles. It's gonna suck. Outright it's gonna suck. If Rick Moranis was writing it, is like at least he understands the movie, his character and all that. But either way, it's good to see Rick Moranis come out and kind of read, jump into the character that I'm sure is near and dear to him. But yeah, Spaceballs 2 coming out 2027. So let me know what you thought about the first one. I mean, I know people love it. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm a diehard fan. It's a good movie. It's really good. It's Mel Brooks. What do you expect? I mean, with Mel Brooks, I really don't think there's anything bad. But yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.